Each finger joint includes the ball joint that it's connected to. There's another one, there's one, and the hand actually includes all the ball joints for the base knuckles. Now, when we start to link these up, this will become a lot more apparent. But basically what we're going to do is we're not using dummies or controllers for the fingers. We're actually going to use the geometry itself, and we're going to link the actual raw geometry. And all of the pivot points have already been taken care of. But if this was your character, you would have to go through and make sure by using the hierarchy effect pivot only button, and you would reposition the pivot points for each of the joints so that they represented the knuckle positions for each finger. So we're looking pretty good. It's time now to start linking the character together, which is really when the rig starts to come together. Okay, so here's our character, and you'll notice there's one or two changes from where we left off. I've added some knee controllers. They're just circles, added exactly the same way as the feet. Now, it's important to note that I have actually changed some pivot point locations for some of these controllers in the center. When we created the center of gravity and the hip rotators, we aligned them to this sphere that's in the center of our character here. And that is the lower torso sphere. And if I rotate it, you'll see that it rotates. Whoop, grab the correct object. In fact, I just need to go into my layer manager and just unfreeze my mesh so I can see what I'm doing. If I rotate that sphere, it's joined to the torso, and this here is the torso controls, the lower torso controls. Now notice where the pivot point is for this torso control here. What I actually did is went into my hierarchy tab, selected effect pivot only, just jump into a front view here, and I dragged the pivot point down and lined it up in a wireframe mode. I just lined it up with the center of this sphere that's inside the pelvis here. And that means that when I connect this pelvis object, this lower torso object, to this controller here, it will rotate from the correct position. You'll notice that I select this. If I was to rotate it, it's going to rotate from down here and not up in the center of the circle. I did the same with the upper torso as well. You'll notice that the upper torso controls have a pivot point that is roughly just above, or sorry, just below this opening in the chest cavity here. And that's the point where I can get the best amount of rotation without the geometry cutting into itself. So there's been a bit of thought that's gone into that. It is important to make sure that